What is up guys, welcome back to the channel. The Steam summer sale has almost come to the end, which means we have at least like couple of days time to check out all the deals, and this will probably be my last video covering the Steam summer sale. So today we're gonna check out some of the best first person shooter games available on Steam summer sale with a pretty handy discount, and this will include both multiplayer as well as some single player titles that are absolutely worth pick it up. And as always guys, a quick reminder, Steam does support regional prices, which means some of the prices that I mentioned in this video might change depending on your region, so definitely keep that in mind as well. Anyway, without further ado guys, let's get right into it. Alright, starting the video with a game called the Hunt Showdown. It's an open world tactical PvP/PvE, more of a monster hunter type of a game where you hunt down different monsters for bounties and also competing with other hunters. The game is pretty hardcore and tactical. It's definitely not for everyone, but if you are a big fan of this type of games, it's absolutely worth pick it up. Right now the game is 60% off and just goes for $8.76. Moving on, we got an awesome game collection that represents one of the best first person shooter franchises out there, and that is the Halo the Master Chief Collection. And this collection will include total of 6 Halo games from the classic era, and you can play both single player and multiplayer, which is awesome. You can pick up the whole collection right now for 75% off and just goes for $3.24. Moving on, next up we got one of the most fun co-op shooters out there, and that is the Tiny Tina's Wonderland. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, this game was given free on Epic Games Store sometimes back. I could be wrong, but definitely check out your Epic Games library. You might have the game already. Other than that, the game is right now 67% off and just goes to $14.84. Next up we got a super hardcore tactical first person shooter, and that is the Ready or Not. The game visually look absolutely amazing and super realistic, but the game is super hardcore and is definitely not for everyone, especially if you are someone who like to play games like Call of Duty. This game is completely opposite of that. But if you are into tactical shooters, I highly recommend you guys to pick the game up. And the game is right now 20% off and just goes for $19.99. Next up we got the highly popular first person shooter Arma 3. Definitely the most popular title when it comes to hardcore first person shooters, but I gotta say guys, it's a really hard game to get into, especially if you're a beginner. But if you're up for a challenge, definitely pick up the game right now, 75% off and just goes $7.49. Next up we got the Tom Clancy's The Rainbow Six Siege. Absolutely no introduction needed, one of the most popular esport titles out there. The game is still doing pretty well and having very high number of player count. It's an absolute must pick up, especially if you are a fan of first person shooter games. The game is right now 60% off and just goes for $5.99. If you're up for a super fun, super challenging co-op first person shooter, definitely pick up this game called Deep Rock Galactic. It's a super fun 4-player co-op shooter where you have to dig, explore and find these valuable resources underground and also fight your way through this cave system, which is definitely challenging and absolutely fun game to play, especially if you got a couple of friends to play with. The game is right now 67% off and just goes for $3.46. Next up we got the Battlefield 2042. Yes, the game had a horrible launch at first, but after months and months of new updates coming to the game, lot of fixes, lot of changes to the old map system, and the game is right now probably in the best state to play. After all these months, if you still haven't picked up the Battlefield 2042, now is hands down the best time to do it, and the game is right now 75% off and just goes for $14.99. Next up we got the game called Squad. It's a super hardcore tactical military simulation type of a shooter, but if you're a beginner it's going to be really difficult, but not as difficult as a game like Arma 3. If you have some kind of experience in first person shooters, the game is definitely worth pick it up and give it a try. Right now the game is 25% off and just goes to $11.99. Next up we got one of the best fast-paced story driven first person shooters, and that is the Doom Eternal. One of the best action shooters out there with great soundtracks. Absolutely a great game to pick up. Right now the game is 60% off and just goes for $5.19. Next up we got one of my favorite single player campaigns that I have played over the years, and that is the Titanfall 2. And I'm simply mentioning this game purely for the single player campaign. I honestly don't know the current state of the multiplayer, but if you are for exceptional single player campaign with a really good story, Titanfall 2 is absolutely a must pick up game right now, and it is currently 85% off and just goes for $4.49. If you're a big fan of World War II tactical shooters, our next game is definitely the one you should pick up, and that is the Hell Let Loose. The game is right now 35% off and just goes for $12.99. If you're up for a super challenging horror co-op shooter, GTA 4 it's absolutely a must pick up game. It's one of the most challenging and super intense co-op shooters out there. Definitely not for everyone, but if you're up for a challenge, the game is right now 33% off and just goes for $8.70. Moving on, we got one of my favorite team-based tactical shooters, and that is the Insurgency Sandstorm. And this is one of my favorite games that I recently played with a super intense combat and a very satisfying and realistic gunplay. It is definitely not as hardcore as games like Arma and Squad. It's a challenging game, but even if you're a beginner, you can pick up and play definitely. Right now the game is 60% off and just goes for $8.99. Next up, we got a super interesting story-driven stealth action shooter, and that is the Generation Zero. It's mainly a single player game with online co-op available as well, and I'm mentioning this game because the game is right now extremely cheap, 80% off, and just goes for $1.69, so it's no brainer to pick this game up. Next up, we got a very popular, very highly rated single player shooter, and that is the Deathloop. I honestly haven't played the game myself, but the reviews are pretty impressive, and the game is also right now 75% off and just goes for $7.49. Next up, we got Far Cry 6, very popular and a very solid single player slash co-op shooter. I would say the story is pretty average on Far Cry 6, but the gameplay is super fun, and right now the game is 75% off and just goes for $10.99. Next up, we got a super popular open world survival shooter, DayZ. Super popular game right now, 40% off and just goes for $26.99. And finally, we got Sniper Ghost Warrior Contracts 2, one of the most underrated single player stealth based action shooters out there. If you're a fan of sniping, this game is an absolute must pick up. The sniping in this game is really satisfying. The game is right now pretty cheap, 75% off and just goes for $4.99, so definitely give it a try if you haven't played the game already. Well, that's pretty much wrap up the video, guys. I hope you guys find some awesome deals on some of the most popular single player slash multiplayer first person shooter games on Steam, and also let me know down below what games are you going to pick up on this Steam summer sale. As always, guys, if this video helpful to you in some way, definitely drop a like and also subscribe. I catch you guys soon in my next video. Stay safe.